Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा रीडिंग फ्रॉम श्रीमद् भागवतम बाय हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय वी आर रीडिंग फ्रॉम कैंटो 4 चैप्टर 8 ध्रुवा लीव्स होम so we are in the section where Narad Muni is testing determination of Dhruva, where he's asking, my dear Dhruva, you are just a small child. Don't take all these insults so seriously. And if you think you are grown up, then the personality who is grown up should be mature enough to know that this honor and dishonor will be always part of one's life. So you should not be excessively distressed by these activities. And it's actually a test. And then he's saying, the task that you are planning to undertake is phenomenally difficult. Bahunam janmanamante. That after many, many lifetimes also, people are, the great munis, they are unable to satisfy the Supreme Lord. It is very difficult and therefore it may become nishpala. Text 32. Ata nivardatamesh nirbandhastav nishpala yadishanti bhavan kale shreyasam samupasthite. Translation.
For this reason, my dear boy, you should not endeavor for this. It will not be successful. It is better that you go home. When you are grown up, by the mercy of the Lord, you will get a chance for these mystic performances. At that time, you may execute this function. Purport. Generally, a thoroughly trained person takes to spiritual perfection at the end of his life. According to the Vedic system, therefore, life is divided into 4 stages. In the beginning, one becomes a brahmachari, a student who studies Vedic knowledge under the authoritative guidance of a spiritual master. He then becomes a householder and executes household duties according to the Vedic processes. Then the householder becomes a vanaprastha, and gradually, when he is mature, he renounces household life and vanaprastha life also and takes to sannyasa, completely devoting himself to devotional service. Generally, people think that childhood is meant for enjoying life by engaging oneself in sports and play. Youth is meant for enjoying the company of young girls. And when one becomes old at the time of death, then he may try to execute devotional service or a mystic yoga processes. But this conclusion is not for devotees who are actually serious. The great sage Narada is instructing Dhruva Maharaj just to taste him. Actually, the direct order is that from any point of life, one should begin rendering devotional service. But it is the duty of the spiritual master to taste the disciple to see how seriously he desires to execute devotional service. Then he may be initiated. Hare Krishna.
Aho nirvatanamesha nirbandhastava nishpala. So he's saying that, my dear boy, this endeavor you should not undertake because there is most likely it will not be successful. It will be nishphala. It is better you go home and later, so when you are supposed to execute, when you become old enough, you can take up this process. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that generally people think that spiritual life is to be taken at the end of one's life. Pehle dharma, artha, kama, and then later peacefully one can do moksha. Or first there is brahmachari, vanaprastha, grihastha, and then sannyas, or the later half of life, after the retired life, one can do something. But this is not, ideally, this is not the case. Prabhupada writes here, generally people think balyavastha krida saktaha, one should be enjoying the krida in the balyavastha. Tarunavastha taruni raktaha, in the youthful age, one is towards the amorous life. Vriddhavastha chinta saktaha. So it is not that the spiritual life has to be postponed till we arrive at the old age. But Bhagavatam says, Kaumaram acharit pragyo. This conclusion is not for devotees, Prabhupada writes, right? Bhagavatam is Kaumaram acharit pragyo. One should start practicing devotional service as early as possible. Or if not Kaumaram, then Prabhupada says at least at any point of time when we understand its emergency. Jab jago tab savera, right? And there are examples. Devotional service is so great and sublime and so easy that anybody at any point of time can take part in devotional service, right? We have seen Parikshit in the womb, he is becoming devotee. Dhruva at the age of, Dhruva and Prahlad at the age of 5, they are becoming devotees. There are limitless examples of middle-aged devotees. And somebody like Ajamil, who on the verge of death, chanting the holy names of Nārāyaṇa, and he becoming devotee. So, whenever we come across the importance of devotional service, one should very quickly take on to devotional service. Text 33. Very beautiful verses, text 33 and 34. So, text 33, Narad Muni says, therefore, if you endure this condition of life, okay, very beautiful verse, we'll recite this one. Yasya yaddaiva vihitam sa
Yasya yadaiva vihitam sa
tena sukha dukkhayo
tena sukha dukkhayoh
atmanam toshayan dehi
atmanam toshayan dehi
tamasa paramrichati.
tamasaha praramuchyati.
Translation.
Satisfied in any condition of life, whether distress or happiness, which is offered by the Supreme Will. A person who endures in this way is able to cross over the darkness of nescience very easily. Existence consists of pious and impious fruitive activities. As long as one is engaged in any kind of activity other than devotional service, it will result in the happiness and distress of this material world. When we enjoy life in so-called material happiness, it is to be understood that we are diminishing the resultant activities. Put into suffering, it is to be understood that we are diminishing the resultant actions of our impious activities. Instead of being attached to circumstantial happiness and distress resulting from pious or impious activities, if we want to get out of the clutches of this nescience, then whatever position we are in put by the will of the Supreme Lord, we should accept. Unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we shall get out of the clutches of this material existence. Hari.
Yeah, so very amazing verse. One should try to keep himself satisfied in any condition of life, right? Yadyat daiva vihitam satena sukha dukkhayo daiva vihitam, which has come because of one's daiva, one should be satisfied. Atmanam toshayan dehi tamasaha paramrichati. Whether it is distress or happiness which is offered by Supreme Will, daiva vihitam. A person who endures in this way is able to cross over the darkness of nescience very easily. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the material existence will consist of pious and impious fruitive activities. And although we have become devotee in this life, or some part of this life, it is not that many of us are not born devotees, right? Somewhere we have become devotees. So previous life, in this life, previous part of this life, before we becoming devotee, and before this life, the countless lifetimes that we have accumulated huge papa and punya. And although devotional service is extremely effective, but because of our faulty execution of devotional service, this papa and punya also going to act on us. Right. And therefore, what is the mood of a devotee? Mood of a devotee is that when we enjoy life with the so-called material happiness, it is to be understood that we are diminishing the resultant actions of our pious activities. And similarly, when we are suffering the material distress, then we should know that we are reducing our result of impious activities or sinful activities. Prahlad Maharaj, when Narad Muni is going to give Upadesh to Prahlad, same Upadesha, very beautifully he is going to say. No, I think it is the Supreme Lord, Narasimha Dev speaking to Prahlad. He says, Bhogena punyam kushalena papam. That you exhaust your punya by bhoga, by enjoying the material life, that it will come across you. Of course, ethically and without sins. And kushalena papam. And when the papa hits you, in the form of distress, in the form of misery, kushalena, one should very dexterously find a way through the period of this material distress. Classic example is Pandavas. And this is how one can get out of the nescience. So Prabhupada writes here, whatever position we are put in by the will of the Supreme, one should accept it. Acceptance is very important. We have seen Sunīti accepting the position and going ahead in life. Right. Of course, accepting the position will have different connotations based on one's age and one's position in the in the career. But then progressively, one should be stabilizing one's career as well. So how it can be summarized nicely is that we are very grateful, we are satisfied, and we are progressive. And that's why Arjuna's one name is Dhananjay also. Correct. He's conquering also. Pandavas are conquering also. And they are very satisfied also. They are going through the ups and downs of the life also very happy, very maturely, without diluting their devotional service. Text 34, very, very famous verse of Bhagavatam. Hundreds of classes are given on this verse. Okay. How to behave. So he is, Narad Muni is instructing Dhruva Mahārāja. Gunadikam mudam lipset.
Adikam mudam lipset.
Yeah, we'll recite this verse, sorry. Gunadikam mudam lipset.
Gunadikam
lipset.
Anukrosham gunadhamat.
Anukrosham gunadhamat.
Maitrim samanadan vichan.
Maitrim samanadan vichan.
Natapai abhibhuyate.
Natapai abhibhuyate.
Translation?
Prabhuji, I'll read today translation. I have time.
Please.
Every man should act like this when he meets a person more qualified than himself. He should be very pleased when he meets someone less qualified than himself. He should be compassionate toward him, and when he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. Purport: generally, when we find someone more qualified than ourselves, we become envious of him. When we find someone less qualified, we deride him. And when we find someone equal, we become very proud of our activities. These are the causes of all material tribulations. The great sage Narada therefore advised that a devotee should act perfectly. Instead of being envious of a more qualified man, one should be jolly to receive him. Instead of being oppressive to a less qualified man, one should be compassionate toward him just to raise him to the proper standard. And when one meets an equal, instead of being proud of one's own activities before him, one should treat him as a friend. One should also have compassion for the people in general who are suffering due to forgetfulness of Krishna. These important functions will make one happy within this material world. Hare Krishna.
So Narada Muni describes that how you should behave, right? Every man should act like this. Gunadhikan mudam lipset, right? Gunadhikam, when he is somebody, if you come across somebody who is more qualified than you, one should be mudam lipset, one should be very happy, very pleased. Then anukrosham gunadhamat, somebody who, when we come across a less qualified person or somebody lesser than us, one should be compassionate. Maitrim samanad anvichan na tapai abhibhuyate. Maitrim samanat. And if somebody who is someone equal to us, we should offer friendship. And in this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries in the material world. And this is Narada Muni's advice, right? One is never affected by threefold miseries in the material world. So whenever we are affected by the threefold miseries, one should check with, this is the barometer. How is my behavior towards people in general? Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, when someone is more qualified than us, generally there is a tendency to become envious. Right. Someone is less qualified, then there is chance to exploit such a person or we deride such a person. And someone who is equal, we boast ourselves. And this one can see actually. Generally we will boast in an equal friends, in an equal group, equals group. I mean, like that is. And somebody naturally who is lesser in a position or lesser in qualification than us, there is always the chance of exploitation. And somebody who is more qualified, then we feel, Prabhuji, mere sati bhakti mein aaye to, it is not such a big thing. I know what he is. And there is always a creeping kind of a thing. And one may think that, one may become envious. Instead of this, Prabhupada says, one should be very joyful when one comes across a very qualified person. One should feel, oh, this is a great fortune. I'm going to receive such an association. When one meets somebody who is less qualified, one should be always very compassionate. And when one meets equal, one should offer one's friendship. These are the important functions which will make us happy within this material world. Na tapai abhibhuyate. Na tapai, the tritapa will act less powerfully on such a personality. So this is a very famous verse. Many devotees have given, many sannyasis have given classes on these verses, how to behave in general. Next we come to the section where there is Dhruva expresses the ambitious goal. Now Narada has expressed to him what he should be doing. And now Dhruva is going to see what is his mission and what he wants to accomplish. Text 35. Dhruva uvacha soyam shamo bhagavata sukhadukha hritatmanam darshita krupayam pumsam durdarshai asmita vidhai tuyah. Translation.
Dhruva Mahārāja said, My dear Lord Nārāda, for a person whose heart is disturbed by the material conditions of happiness and distress, whatever you have so kindly explained for attainment of peace of mind is certainly a very good instruction. But as far as I am concerned, I am covered by ignorance, and this kind of philosophy does not touch my heart. Wherefore, there are various classes of men. One class is called akamis, referring to those who have no material desire. Desire must exist, either material or spiritual. Material desire arises when one wants to satisfy one's personal senses. One who is ready to sacrifice anything to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be said to have spiritual desire. Dhruva did not accept the instruction given by the great Saint Narada because he thought himself unfit for such instruction, which prohibited all material desires. It is not a fact, however, that those who have material desires are prohibited from worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the essential instruction from the life of Dhruva. He frankly admitted that his heart was full of material desires. He was very much affected by the cruel words of his stepmother, whereas those who are spiritually advanced do not care about anyone's condemnation or adoration. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that persons who are actually advanced in spiritual life do not care for the dual behavior of this material world. But Dhruva Maharaj frankly admitted that he was not beyond the affliction of material distress and happiness. He was confident that the instruction given by Narada was valuable, yet he could not accept it. The question raised here is whether or not a person afflicted by material desires is fit to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The answer is that everyone is fit to worship him. Even if one has many material desires to fulfill, he should take to Krishna consciousness and worship the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is so merciful that he fulfills everyone's desires. Through this narration, it will become very clear that no one is barred from worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even if one has many material desires.
Yes. So Dhruva Uvacha. Dhruva said, "My dear Lord Nāradā, for a person whose heart is disturbed by material conditions of happiness and distress, whatever you have so kindly explained is for the attainment of peace of mind, is although they are very good, they are not very appealing. This kind of philosophy does not touch my heart." So now Dhruva was a child, 5 years old, and he could very frankly say that, "My dear Narad Muni, this message is not for me. Although you are great, your message is great, it is fantastic, but it is not for me." And while doing so, while expressing his inability to align with the message, he is not arrogant, but he is incompetent. So this is, he's feeling that, no, this is not for me. And because he was a child, he could do. Sometimes, we come across something. Sometimes some seniors may give us some seva or something, we may have to do something. And internally, it just doesn't align with our swabhava. But somehow we just push through. And if the service attitude is not very right, that pushing through, will lead to some kind of a cribbing. That why me, always me, something like that. But here, Dhruva, that was not the case. He was a child. He very frankly spoke. Sometimes children, they can just speak the truth very bluntly. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, there are various classes of men. Akama sarva kamo va, moksha kamo udarati. But the fact is that anybody and everybody can approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the essential lesson, Prabhupada writes, from the life of Dhruva, that devotional service is not barred for anyone. It is not that one has to be certain level of purification, then only he can come. No. Anybody at any point of time can approach the Supreme Lord. Bhagavad Gita otherwise explains that those who are spiritually advanced, sukha dukkha same krutva labha labho jaya jayo. For them, sukha dukkha is same. But for somebody who is not on such an advanced position, here Dhruva is saying that he is not beyond the afflictions of material happiness and distress. Although I am very confident your instructions are gold mine, but I cannot accept it because they are not meant for me. Now let us remember this verse. Way later, when Dhruva Maharaj is also going to regret not following advice of Narada Muni. And that is also again the greatness of Dhruva only. Because when he is given the benediction by the Lord, just see, he performs the tremendous austerities. Supreme Lord is pleased. He says that, "My dear Lord, I don't want any benediction." Lord says, "No, you will get benediction and you will get Dhruva planet." And after doing this kind of attainment, still there is dissatisfaction in the heart of Dhruva. And he's saying that, now I have to rule this material world for 36,000 years. And then I have to go to, the abode of the Supreme Lord. This punishment is for my disobedience of Narada Muni's instructions. So very beautiful. Bhagavatam is extremely beautiful and deep. Right. So there, although he has attained the Supreme Lord, he has attained his goal, Lord is pleased with him, Dhruva is displeased with himself, thinking that now I have to suffer being the emperor in the material world for 36,000 years and thus enjoy this suffering. This is because this is the result of my disobedience to Narada Muni, who had in the first meeting only told, "My dear Dhruva, just tolerate." Okay, of course, that is a different Dhruva that we are going to see, who is a very, very mature personality. Here the Dhruva is, afflicted, and he says that, "No, this is not for me, my dear Narad Muni. This Upadesh is good for a Brahmana boy, but I'm a Kshatriya. And this doesn't touch my heart. Text 36. Athapi me avinitasya kshatram ghoram upeyusha surucha durvachanair banair nabhinne shrayaterdi. Translation.
My dear Lord, I am very impudent for not accepting your instructions, but this is not my fault. It is due to my having been born in Kshatriya family. My stepmother Suruci has pierced my heart with her harsh words. Therefore, your valuable instructions does not stand in my heart. Purport. It is said that the heart or mind is just like an earthen pot. Once broken, it cannot be repaired by any means. Dhruva Mahārāja gave this example to Narad Muni. He said that his heart, having been pierced by the arrows of his stepmother's harsh words, felt so broken that nothing seemed valuable but his desire to counteract her insult. His stepmother had said that because he was born from the womb of Sunīti, a neglected queen of Maharaj Uttānapāda, Dhruva Mahārāja was not fit to sit either on the throne or on his father's lap. In other words, according to his stepmother, he could not be declared king. Dhruva Mahārāja's determination, therefore, was to become king of a planet exalted even beyond that possessed by Lord Brahma, the greatest of all demigods. Dhruva
Yeah,
Mahārāja.
so we will read this in section because this is very important part. So Dhruva says, Athapi me avinitasya. Avinitasya, I am avinit, vidya vinayena shobhate, that I am very, you may think I am very impudent, that you have such a great personality. Narada Muni is giving instruction and he's saying that your instruction doesn't fit in my heart. Avinitasya. Kshatram ghoram upeyushta. But I have attained this nature because of being born with a Kshatriya blood, because of my Kshatriya family. And there is another reason, Narad Muni. Surucha durvachana irbanair. This Suruci, he's not, now you're directly taking the name of the mother. Okay, this is generally never done, right? You never call by a direct name, especially mother, father. You don't call by a direct name mother, right? You come, but here, as soon as he remembers this, what is that? As soon as he remembers that, he again suffers the same pangs, of Surucha, Durvachana Irbanair. The Suruchi has spoken so badly with me. Bhinne Shrayaterti. It has just completely destroyed, broken my heart. And, needless to say, again he starts weeping. Again he is, in the same emotions. It is said that when we remember a tragic event, we again suffer similarly. Sometimes, something tragic has happened in our life, and then if it's just the remembrance of that, we again go in that mental state of suffering by remembering those suffering. So here he directly says, Surucha, very angry, taking the direct name of his mother. My dear, so in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, it is said that heart or a mind is just like the earthen pot. Once broken, it cannot be repaired by any means. So it is very important. Of course, we have seen the example previously that Daksha, reconciled with Lord Shiva, but the head of Daksha was replaced, right? Lord Shiva and Daksha, both of them, they lost Sati. So there is always a cost of durvachanair banair. Whenever we speak, there is always a cost. This one should be very clear. That whenever we speak, there is always a cost. Now, we know the examples of two dearest of the friends coming from the grossest of the backgrounds, very amazing personalities. And they, both of them, these two ladies, they, one just spoke something harshly, and then, then the other person is not able to take in, right? And, this is also typically Ghar Ghar Ki Kahani in some different ways. And we don't have to repeat it. Sometimes people feel that, no, Prabhuji, we are so close, that even he can kick me and I can kick him also. We are, very close friends from childhood. Very close friends from childhood. Person may tolerate the kick, but durvachanair banair is very difficult to tolerate. Later, same thing again we are going to, this is going to come again and again in Bhagavatam. Later we'll see in the case of Avanti Brahmana. Later we'll see in the case of Jadabharat. When Rahugun speaks very harshly with Jadabharat. Jadabharat, although a pure devotee, there is a verse in Bhagavatam which says, although he is a pure devotee, beyond the realm of material life, he felt waves of dissatisfaction by the harsh words of Rahugun. And Rahugun is saying that, so he is very sarcastically talking to Jadabharat. So what is important is Durvachanair Banair. Correct. Dhruva Mahārāja gave this example to Narada Muni that he said that his heart, having been pierced by the arrows of someone's harsh words, felt so broken that it is unable to hold on the golden instructions of you, my dear Narada Muni. My heart is broken. What an example, what a beautiful example. He's saying, your instructions are like the molten gold. But because my heart is broken, they are not standing in that pot. And why the heart is broken? The heart is broken because of Durvachanair Banair. And therefore, the sign of a personality is that how we speak with others. It's extremely important. Sometimes people feel that, oh, I am authority, I am the boss, I am very close friend, I am this, I am that. And people will take it very badly. People will take it very badly. It may be, the person who is working under us, it may be one's disciple. In some of the lectures that sannyasis have given in ISKCON, they said that even if somebody may be one's disciple, one has to be aware that he is also a Vaishnava. Later, Prabhupada writes that Suruci suffered the reactions of Vaishnava aparat. Although, when Suruci offended Dhruva, he was not a Vaishnava. Because he was going to become future Vaishnava, all her aparats became future Vaishnava aparat. Very powerful verse Prabhupada, purport Prabhupada writes. And therefore, one has to be very, very careful in one's speech. One cannot say, no, Prabhuji, I come from this background only. मैं गांव से आता हूँ, मैं ये जाति से आता हूँ, हमारे यहाँ तो ऐसे बात करते हैं. Right? So this is unacceptable. Simple. Bhagavatam is the truth. It is the benchmark. It is the lighthouse. We either accept it or neglect it and pay the price. And we have seen very, very bad example of people paying the price because of Surucha Durvachanair Banair. Because of the Bana. Lord Krishna also says this. Final instructions of Lord Krishna to Uddhava. He's going to say the same thing that, my dear Uddhava, pierced by the harsh words. And that kind of suffering is far greater than you cut off somebody's limbs also. You cut off somebody's hand, somebody's leg, or somebody's ear, or something like that. He will not feel that kind of a pain as it is felt by harsh words. So here, he says that my heart is broken. Your instructions do not stand with me, Narada Muni. Sorry, you may think I am abhinitasya. You may think I am doing durukti. You may think I am disobedient to you. But please understand my condition and give me some different upadesha. So this is Dhruva. We'll conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaurav Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.